Hi there. Today I'm going to be talking about the ethical issues concerning Nike. When it comes to brand image as being known, easily one of the most identifiable, not just in the world of sports, but in the entire world, is Nike's swoosh. Nike, as we know it, is an American multinational company that is the largest supplier of athletic equipment, shoes, clothes, etc. The Nike brand has been around since the 1960s, but wasn't officially called Nike until 1972. It was founded as Blue Ribbon Sports in 1964 by the University of Oregon track coach at the time, Mr. Bill Bowerman. One of Mr. Bowerman's former students, Phil Knight, then came into the picture, and that is when the Nike brand really took off. With such a well known company like Nike, ethical issues are bound to be noticed at some point or another. Throughout this presentation, some of the issues will be highlighted. Arguably, one of the largest ethical issues that Nike faces is their involvement with sweatshops. Not so much now, but in the early years, Nike has faced a lot of issues that have forced them to change their way to the ever changing society that we live in. Now, it's no shock that most companies take their work overseas to find factories and manufacturers to put their products together at a lower price. In Nike's standards, it's unethical for a multitude of ways, from child laborers to poor work conditions to low wages. All of these have now then been adapted to their code of conduct now. Starting right off the bat, the biggest issue is child labor laws. Now, obviously in America, a child can begin work at the age of 14 with limited hours, but most companies will not hire until 17 or 18. In some of the countries that Nike has factories in, there are children as young as 12 years old working such long hours, and just right off the bat, this is the largest red flag concerning their employees making products. Now, to a certain extent, Nike has somewhat overlooked this issue, but found a way to solve it. Nike then enforced that they would not hire anyone under the age of 16 in any country. The next issue concerning sweatshops in foreign countries are the working conditions in general. To put it bluntly, a lot of countries that Nike has factories in aren't as privileged as we are in America regarding some of their lavish work environments. To quote an article written in late 2019 by the website New Idea, their brand celebrates humanity in all its potential, but Nike has a history of treating its workers as if they were not human at all. These factories are unethical because they're usually in depreciated buildings, cramming many employees into tight spaces, posing an infinite number of fire dangers. Another example of dangerous work environments that Nike factories workers have endeavored were in 2017 in Cambodia when many female employees were fainting during their shifts. This came to reason because their shifts were around 10 hours a day, 6 days a week, all while working in hot temperatures. Now, Nike has changed their ways and added fans into these factories to kind of lessen the blow of their workers fainting during shifts because just in general, that is a big ethical issue right there. The last working related issue that Nike faces in their sweatshops are the low wages. Since most of their products are assembled in developed/developing countries, their company can almost get away with paying employees below the bare minimum. Basically, these workers are struggling to get by with these wages, but over the years, Nike has been famous at doing this, so they seem to corrected this problem by employing workers at the rate of minimum wage in that given country. The next section of unethical issues concerning Nike relate more to their marketing department, specifically the products in general, but also the athletes and celebrities endorsing these products. Starting off their products in general, since they're made mostly in other countries, it comes as no shock that they're produced to the price of honestly as low as nothing. Nike can then turn that piece of clothing or shoes and sell it for $100+ just for example. To, to compare the markup price that they use on their products, it costs $33 to produce the Air Max 2016 as pictured in this slide. Nike then turns around and sells that shoe for $190. That itself is almost a 600% markup price. Going along with Nike's markup prices, I have a personal story. Both of these two shoes pictured I've recently purchased. Now, these two specific shoes are part of Nike's Space Hippie collection. The reason why these are relevant is because they are completely made of recycled materials, or to put it simple, trash. No, it's an awesome campaign. I like the idea of, using recycled materials to produce more shoes. I think it's a great idea. More companies should be getting behind, but they're probably not producing these shoes. It probably costs them almost nothing to produce these shoes. Now, both of these shoes retail at $130. Thanks, Finish Line, for letting me use my discount on both of them. But in a way, their corporate social responsibility isn't in the right place because they're making profit on products that are in a way saving or helping the environment. The next issue relates to the athletes and celebrities endorsing such products. At no point am I saying these athletes don't deserve the money because, quite frankly, they've earned it. But there have been some examples where Nike has dished out millions of dollars to sign the next big star to wear the swoosh or Jumpman logos. It's perfectly fine to pay these athletes, but there are numerous ways they could use the money in a socioeconomically better way to help society. The looming question that everybody's wondering, is Nike an ethical company? Now, in the example of Nike being unethical, one would assume they might not be the most ethical, obviously. That isn't the point of this assessment. The point of this is to kind of highlight some of their reasons why they are unethical. Although Nike does do some good in the world, it's about 50-50 whether their corporate responsibility is positive or negative. The issues mentioned above are more negative than positive, but the only issue that could really be seen as right in the middle of the positive and negative spectrum are the issues concerning the athletes getting paid extreme amounts of money to endorse the products. As one can see in most instances, a lot has been done to correct these issues, if not help them in a slight bit. Next part of this presentation, we're taking a deep dive into Nike's code of conduct, but to start it off, the quote that highlights their code of conduct. At Nike, we believe that although there is no finish line, there's a clear starting line. That is the headline. To summarize this statement, it translates to there's no end to finding a solution to anything. There's always a place to begin. Now, there's 4 sections of Nike's code of conduct that we're going to take in the next couple slides. We're going to deep dive into is they are respect, fairness, safety, and sustainability. To highlight these sections, you must start with respect first. It highlights such standards as voluntary employment, employees 16 years or older, no discrimination, and respect for freedom of association and collective bargaining. Now, moving along that is we have the fairness section. It mentions zero tolerance for workplace harassment or abuse, non-excessive working hours, benefits and compensation being paid on time, and regular employment provided. The next 2 sections of Nike's code of conduct involve safety and sustainability. Starting with safety, the main points are to provide a safe work environment, safe buildings, emergency plans, and health and hygiene hazards being controlled. The sustainability section I found was very interesting because they mention water value, waste minimization, and energy lessened. In conclusion, Nike's code of conduct does hold high expectations for their leaders and managers. It highlights protocols on health and safety, but also parallels with environmental issues that were introduced by national governments. After carefully reading it, it sounds just like any other company's code of ethics, but I can't necessarily agree with their ethical standards. There's a lot of issues they could do differently, especially how they outsource their products to other companies. Each work environment everywhere in the world should be held to the same standards of making sure every employee safety is a top priority to that company. I do agree with their headline on the code of ethics about no finish line. There's always a start to any solution, but it takes an ethical company to step in and make sure they're doing everything they possibly can to make the world a better place. This concludes the presentation. Thank you.